My name is Jennifer Cathinson with Build Exact, and I'm here with Spencer Powell, who's the CEO of Builder Funnel. He's going to tell you a little bit more about what his agency does. He's based in Colorado, as I mentioned, and he's got a history in the industry. It's really cool. He's got some family that's been in the industry for quite a while, and hopefully he'll tell us a little bit more about that and then share his expertise on helping you guys with your websites. All right, Stuart, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Alrighty, thanks so much. Yeah, I'm excited to be here, and this topic that I've got today is one that that excites me because I feel like there's there's some misconceptions and some things that we can break today going into this. And so we're going to talk about going from click to contract, but it's really about mastering lead conversion. So let's make sure the slides are working okay here. So I don't know if any of you have noticed this, but this is something that we observed several years ago, and it's really the old model of website design for remodelers and builders is broken. So I don't know if anyone has experienced that. Feel free to drop in the chat if you feel like you've gone through one redesign, maybe dozens of redesigns, anywhere in between over the last several years, trying to get your website, quote unquote, right, and trying to get that perfect. And the reason that it's broken is that a lot of designers, agencies, um, they're basically building you a custom site. And so if you think about what a custom website is, it's actually saying, hey, we're going to do something totally new, which means it's untested and it's unproven. Sometimes custom is good, right? You can, I would argue that a lot of times in, remodeling and building, custom can be a really good thing because somebody has a unique style, personality, they have a certain lot space, a certain square footage. You need a lot of customization. In terms of a website, we want something that we know is going to perform. And so when you get something that's custom, you're rolling the dice a little bit with some performance components. And so let's talk about that a little bit. Typically, a custom site is going to be stunning on the outside, right? The designer is trying to find something that is going to appeal to you, that's going to look really sharp. But a lot of times it's actually really clunky on the inside because the outside got prioritized. We said, hey, we want this to look beautiful. Maybe we want, massive imagery. We have all these like custom widgets that we're going to build into it. But then on the backside, there's, not a lot of SEO work was done. It was maybe built on a proprietary system. There's a lot of custom code that kind of makes the site a little bit more bloated, and we're going to get into some of this. But at the end of the day, that results typically in few to no leads. And that is most of the time, at least from our conversations, what people want their website to do. Of course, we want it to look good. We want it to represent our brand. But what we really want is for it to generate leads and opportunities for new business. Before I get too much farther, like Jennifer said, I've the CEO over at Builder Funnel, started the company in 2010 when I was about 23. I thought I knew a lot about what I was doing and quickly realized I knew nothing. Today, I know I still don't know a lot, and there's a lot more to learn. I think in business, the further you go, the further you realize that there's always more to learn. But we've been able to grow steadily over those 14 years. Today, we're about 32 people. We're spread across the US and Canada. And our sole focus is helping remodelers and custom builders grow through strategic digital marketing. To date, we've tracked north of $150 million in sales for our clients in terms of projects landed through our marketing efforts. And because of that, we've been helping our clients grow. We only grow if you guys do, and we just hit the Inc. 5000 list. We just found out, I think it was a couple weeks ago, that they made the announcement, and so the team is pretty excited about that. What that tells us is that we're helping our clients grow as well. If you like books, you can pick up a copy of the Remodeler Marketing Blueprint. That was one that I wrote a few years ago. It outlines our methodology that we've been using to build marketing programs for the industry. But since you're here, I'd love to just get you a free copy. If you want, you can just send an email to my email address, spowell@builderfunnel.com. Just make sure you put Build Exact in the subject line so we know you came from the webinar. Just put your mailing address in the body of the email, and our team will pick that up and get you a copy. And if you like podcasts, Builder Funnel Radio is one that I host, and we put out an episode every single week. If you like Chipotle, you should swing through Colorado Springs, and we can grab some lunch sometime. I've eaten at all 73, but that's a story for another time. As we get started too, I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. I would love to know why you signed up for the webinar today and what you're hoping to get out of it. I'm going to cover a lot. Email, I think it's in the chat now, but it's spowell@builderfunnel.com. But I'd love to get a sense for what you guys want to take away from this webinar. Usually you sign up for a webinar, you liked the title, something about the description, maybe there's something you're really hoping to learn that's going to solve a problem in your business. So if there is something that you're really hoping to learn a little bit more about today, please put that in the chat. There's a good chance we'll cover it, and if not, there's going to be some Q&A time at the end. So let's get into the history of website design, and we're not going to do a deep dive into this, but I think it's important to understand kind of the context of where web design started, the journey that we took, through the evolution to get to where we are now, so that we can understand, hey, what do we need to do today to actually have our websites perform for us? So rewind to 1991. This was when the first website was created. It basically was just like a text site. It just had some lines of text, and I think there was nowhere to link to, so I don't think there were even any links, but it was just a basic page that had some words on it. Then we quickly moved into kind of the late 90s, and that really kind of opened the doors up a little bit. People started figuring out how to add motion, tables, forms to their website, some graphics, and the ball was moving. The early 2000s is when we call this mainstream. But this is really where I would say kind of your like everyday person had a website or could have a website, and your average company started to build a site. And that's due to many things, but WordPress was a big part of that. WordPress allowed you to build a site. You didn't need to know as much code to work on a site. This is also when we saw like the early innings of like MySpace, Facebook, like social sites where you could create pages. So just as a whole, we got comfortable kind of creating something online and operating online. And then we went into the late 2000s, and this was the mobile era. So if anyone was running their business, had a website back in this time, you'll know that iPhone basically killed off Flash. So if you ever tried to load a Flash site on your phone, if you had an iPhone, it would just say, can't do it. And then this was also kind of between 2000 2010, you had a regular website, and then you had a mobile website. And then in this mobile era, we made this shift to responsive design. So there's a good chance you went through this and you had to get your site redesigned so that it was responsive. And what that meant was you load a site on your phone, on a tablet, on your laptop, on a big screen, on your desktop, and the site will just automatically adjust, right? It'll move up and down, and your site will look good on basically any device. So that was a big shift in the late 2000s. And then really since then, we've just been in this period of flat design. And so we've seen all those like fancy animations kind of disappear. People don't want to wait for stuff to load. They don't want to have to like watch something before the site loads. And generally, people want to get to the information as fast as they can. They want to be able to navigate super easily throughout the website. And so we see a lot of 2D icons and not as much rich design. Some of these things are also influential on speed. And today we're really in this era where flat design is continuing, but the priority is on the user. So the person that comes to your website, what kind of content are we delivering to them? Can they navigate and get to the information they want to get to? Is it easy for them to move around? And so everything is kind of geared towards thinking about the user. So that's a little bit of the history of like where we were and where we are today. And I still do get this question, less so today than I did probably 4 or 5 years ago, but it does come up, right? Why should I even have a website? Maybe you get a lot of business from referral and word of mouth, and maybe you have a Facebook page, and that's good enough. And I would argue if you're trying to grow your business, um, that probably is you will hit a cap somewhere, and 97% of people use search to find a local business. So if you're operating a local building business, remodeling business, any outdoor services, specialty trade, anything like that, people still go to search to find a company. We do still ask for referrals. We still get them. There's still that like offline word of mouth, but a lot of people trust reviews online that they see on, a Google business profile just as much, and sometimes even more so than maybe a friend telling them something. I think with Amazon, we've really seen that we're pretty comfortable looking at reviews, seeing pictures of people wearing a product. And so we're comfortable in that space. And that's where you can use your website to display social proof. So you can feature testimonials, reviews, completed projects. People can really get a sense for the work that you do by seeing it and then hearing about it from other people that have worked with you. And the other reason that I really advocate for you having your own website and you having control of that website, whether you're partnered with an agency like us or a freelancer or anybody at all, like they can come in, help you work on the website, but you should still have full control. Facebook and Instagram accounts and those types of pages, they're great to have, even like a house website. Sure, if that's going to help you. But at the end of the day, any of those could just go away. And we've seen that with social, over the years. Um, Facebook kind of took the reins there, but maybe TikTok knocks out Instagram and Facebook. Maybe some new competitor that we haven't seen yet blows them out of the water. And so all of those things go away. But if you have your own domain that you've purchased and your own content, that's yours. Jennifer, it looked like
Spencer,
you're
I'm gonna
popping
jump
on.
in
Yeah,
real. Yeah, so sorry to interrupt. This
go
is
for it.
great content, but we have lots going on in the chat. So I just wanted to give
Cool.
you like a high level. One is that in your presentation, you might be able to say, I've got all this covered. So lead conversion, so driving people to the site. The enigma that SEO is. So you
Mm.
have that coming up, and how you get your arms around it and how do you know what you're getting. It's like bringing your car to the mechanic and you're like, are they telling me that what I really need to be doing? And then so one maybe really quick question is just how many projects should you be displaying in your portfolio on your website? So that one,
Mm.
that seems to me like something that probably everybody is wondering, but yeah, I will let you get back to it.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for that. And I would say we are gonna hit all of that as we go through. But we can tackle the project question right now because I think it's a little bit quicker. Um, my recommendation for featuring projects and how many is you want to feature the projects that you want more of, and then maybe even aspirational projects. But let's say you're a kitchen and bath remodeler and you're trying to get into like kitchen plus projects and maybe additions or multi-room stuff, and you're really trying to get away from bathrooms. Maybe don't load the bathroom projects on your website and only display the kitchens. And then if you get that larger project that's an addition, you definitely want to display that. I would say so like project type and then also area, right? If there are certain parts of town that you really want to do more work in, feature more of those. And so I think at the beginning, it's, hey, I don't have a lot of project photos. I don't have a lot of projects. I'm just going to put them all up there. But over time, you start to curate it, right? And if you're looking at, say, like a dozen projects, you might go, well, gosh, these two, we don't really do those anymore. We don't want to. Let's delete those and let's try to upgrade and replace projects. But honestly, if your project gallery is full, and we're going to talk about project spotlights, but if it's 50 projects deep and they're all the types of projects that you want, I think it's great. Keep going, keep adding to it, because it's more social proof. It's more examples of the type of work that you've done. And when somebody hits the site and they see all of those projects, it gives them more confidence that you have experience and you can do their project as well. All right, and I know keep the questions coming. We'll have some time at the end, and I'll kind of rapid fire through as many as I can. But I think a lot of the other ones that Jennifer mentioned, we're going to be able to tackle as we continue on. Um, so we were talking about why have a website, and we had gone through those three reasons. But these three, I think, are my favorite, which are your website can really be your best salesperson and your best brand advocate at the same time because you get to control what's on your website. And so if you think about sales, maybe you have trained a salesperson before and they go out on a meeting and they run it perfect. And then they go on another meeting and they forgot to mention these couple of key elements that make you really unique. They're going to kind of say it a little bit differently each time, and you can do coaching and training, but your website, you can answer a certain question exactly how you want to answer it. You can talk about your process in the best way to do that, and then it stays that way forever, right? And so as you think about your website, it can be working around the clock, 24/7. Actually just went in and looked at our website, and in the last like 18 hours, our site has generated 13 leads, and that's leads that the site was working to generate while nobody else was having to go out and try to do those efforts. And so it's a really powerful tool, both from a marketing standpoint, but also a sales standpoint. So let's talk about the old model of website design. At the beginning, I said, hey, the old model is broken, and I think there's a new and better way. And so I'm going to present that to you. But let's talk through the old model. And as I'm going through this, I want you to see if this is something that you've bumped into. So the first step is, hey, I'm, got a remodeling business and I think I need a new website. So I go to Google and I'm typing in, website design company near me, trying to find an agency. They pick up and you say, hey, I think I need a new website. And they say, I agree, you need a new website, right? It makes sense. You want the service, they offer the service. So yes, let's talk about the service. Nothing wrong with that. But then they kind of flip it back to you and say, well, tell me what you like in a website. And so they usually send you off to go look at maybe competitor websites, sites that you like, sites that you don't like. You end up pulling like, oh, well, I've got this competitor near me and I really like how they do this. But then there's this like guy in my peer group and I really like his site for these few areas. And then you find a whole bunch of stuff and you kind of throw all these like combined preferences back to the web designer. And then they go, great, we'll take in all your preferences, but then we've got our best practices that we, have found for web design, and we're going to mash those together too. And so you end up getting a custom site, but it's just kind of this Frankenstein's monster mashup of all of these different preferences, yours and theirs. And then kind of get to that point and they say, oh, and then, hey, now we need some content. Can you write the content? Is that something that you can provide for us? Um, Now you're stuck writing a bunch of content, but then you're saying, well, gosh, I thought that was part of the website. So you get all the way through design, and now you're stuck in this lane, and then you're working on content. And then they say, oh, and now we need your domain login so we can take this live. And at the end of the day, when you launch it, what you hoped would happen is that you would actually just get more leads and more of the projects that you wanted. Instead, you get something that probably looks really good, but if nobody's actually getting to the site, then it's kind of like the tree in the forest, right? Does it make a sound? Like, is it the most beautiful, perfect website in the world? Like maybe, but if nobody sees it, like you're getting no value out of that. So let's review the problems with the old model. We talked about how custom means untested and unproven. Typically, there's no SEO baked into this because you hire a designer, and designer is great at design, and then the site gets built, but they maybe didn't optimize it in terms of your key services and your key locations. And those are the things that are going to get you found when somebody goes into Google and types in a service and a location. Many times, not often, but many times, or not every time, uh, the designer isn't really savvy when it comes to SEO. And so a technical part of SEO is just how fast does the site load? And if they're optimizing for beauty and looks on the outside, then a lot of times you have bloated code. They didn't compress and optimize the images. So they used big imagery, but they didn't run it through compressors and make it the minimum possible size to still look really good. And so Google still has to load the whole site. They have to load all these big files, and it slows the site down, and that is going to impact how well your site ranks. If you think about what Google wants to do when it comes to, I've seen a few questions in here like about ranking and showing up. Um, Google wants to get their searcher, the person typing something into Google, to the right information as fast as possible. And so it makes sense that a lot of SEO is going to be around those two things, relevance and speed. And so when you think about imagery and bloated code, those things impact speed, and that will impact your rankings. It's also typically image focused versus conversion focused. We're going to talk about lead conversion here in a little bit. And then often content light, again, because design, stuff looks better with big imagery and less text. And while that is great from an aesthetic standpoint, you're losing some opportunity there when it comes to ranking. This doesn't happen every time, but many times, we've seen this in a number of instances. The web designer ends up holding you hostage because they retain the rights to the website or the design itself, or they are the only ones with the login and you don't have access. So it's just something to be aware of. Many times they're not focused on the industry. So when it comes to writing the content or building the site in that fashion, they don't know the language, the lingo. And so you end up having to do a lot of the writing because they take a first stab at it and you go, I feel like they don't really understand my voice or they don't understand the industry. And so you end up having to jump in to write. And then the last one is that almost always it's never built with marketing in mind, right? We've been talking about how it's usually image focused, but it's not built with a marketing system. So there's no CRM, hopefully there's Google Analytics attached, but many times there's no like ROI reporting in terms of, lead conversion and customer conversion. There's no email tools, SEO tools, all of the things that are actually going to move your site forward once it gets built. So those are the issues with the old model. And there are a few other horror stories that can happen. Hopefully these haven't happened to you, but they're pretty common. We had talked to a guy, local remodeler in kind of a mid-sized market, and web agency built him a site, looked fine. The agency went out of business and they got locked out of their site. And so again, in thinking about, hey, should my site, if I want to do this the right way, one of the components of that is making sure you have control, There's nothing wrong with letting other people manage the site, make changes to the site, market the site. But at the end of the day, you should have all the logins, you should have admin control of everything so that if, the company, blows up or they ghost you or whatever it is that happens, you still have control of your site. There was another scenario where this local remodeler, they're getting about 15 leads a month from their site. So they're happy with that. They were trying to grow it. And that's why they said, well, gosh, we want more leads. Maybe we'll redesign our website. And so they went with a local agency. And as soon as they launched, basically within 30 days, their leads were cut in half. I think they were getting about 7 per month after that. And that was because SEO wasn't factored in. And so we're going to talk about a few specifics when it comes to SEO, but your page titles, your URLs, your headers, they're really important. And so in this instance, they had done some SEO work. They were ranking for, say, as an example, I'm in Colorado Springs, so I'm going to use a lot of that example, but like kitchen remodeling in Colorado Springs, say you have a page that's optimized for that and you're in the second or third position, you're going to get some traffic for that. If you redesign your site and the person that launches the new site kind of strips out the SEO because they're just building it for design and they're not really thinking about SEO, maybe they weren't even hired to take that into consideration, and they weren't trying to do it maliciously. They launched the site, that page that was ranking, it might now just be optimized for services instead of something very specific like kitchen remodeling services in Colorado Springs. And so we're going to talk through where you can really leverage some of these components in your site. And the other thing I would say to watch out for is losing IP to the actual design. So we had a scenario with a custom builder, and they worked with an agency, built a site, paid that agency for the design, built it on a platform. I think it was a proprietary platform. Then they talked to a project management software. They said, hey, we can actually just move your site over here. That way everything's integrated. So they just moved over the design. Same design, different platform. Then we started talking to them and said, hey, it's great that you're using this project management tool, but we really want to move it onto a marketing first platform. Let's just take the same design again, move it onto this platform. So same design, 3 different platforms. But this company, this project management company said, oh, that's actually our IP to that design. Like you either need to change the design completely or you need to pay us to basically take it off our site. And so again, just questions to ask as you're going through the process. Like, do we own the design? If we move platforms, do we still get to keep the design and just basically rebuild the back end? So these are all the issues, problems that we had been seeing with the model of web design, which we're now calling the old model of web design. And so we figured there's got to be a better way to approach this. What if we kind of scrap that and rethink it? And so we thought, well, we should probably have some rationale for whatever this new way is. And so for many, many years, we had been improving sites. We would take on a site, it just had whatever design it looked like. Many times we might think, oh, this site looks terrible. Or many times we might think, oh, this site looks really good, really sharp. But at the end of the day, I've seen sites that I think look really, really ugly, but we've taken them and made them perform better. And then we've also taken sites that looked objectively really good and we've made them perform better. So what we're going to talk about is how do we get a site to perform? Because at the end of the day, what we're looking at, we're all going to have different preferences. You might love something, I might hate it. The next person might think it's so-so. And so you go, okay, that's 3 different people looking at the same site and we all think it looks differently. But the real question is, does it get the person that's visiting, does it get them the information they're looking for? Does it convert them into a lead? Does it draw in the right type of people and move them into our sales process? And so those are the things that we want to for sure get right. And then, of course, we want our site to be on brand and looking sharp. We don't want it to look like it was built in the 90s. So we said, well, gosh, maybe we should start with strategy first. And strategy is just how do we build a plan designed to achieve a major objective? And in our case, we said, well, the major objective is we want more customers. And so if we want more customers, then we need our website to draw in more leads. And we want more of the right leads. So it needs to attract the right type of people. And then it needs to be able to convert the right type of people, name, email, phone number. We need to generate a lead. And then they'll go into the sales process. And that's how we can get more customers. So as we were going through this process of reimagining what website design could look like, we said, well, we need to start with the outcome in mind, which is more of the right types of projects. So for us, that meant we should start with marketing best practices. And again, we had worked on sites that objectively maybe looked really ugly to some of us, but we made them perform really well. There's one particular client of ours that I have in mind. We worked with him for, I think, 12 years until he retired. And when we got his site, it looked pretty tired, outdated. The design of it, it wasn't super appealing, but they didn't want to do a redesign at the time. And so we just kept improving the content, the lead conversion, a lot of the stuff I'm going to start talking about here. And he was booked out for about 18 months most of the time, most years. And I think at the end, pre-retirement, he had basically a 2-year pipeline and backlog that kind of he was able to close out right until the finish line. And we never redesigned the site. We wanted to, but that was really the one example that stood out so clearly to me that design is subjective and really strong performance can overcome even, a poor design. So we don't want to ignore these marketing best practices. And so things like speed. Does the site load really quickly? We know users and people navigating the web are impatient. We're all those users for different things, right? We go online, we click on a site. If it's slow to load, we're out of there. SEO. If I type something into Google, I expect something relevant is going to pop up. That's Google's promise. But what we can do from our perspective is help Google identify what are we relevant for. And so if you offer, certain types of services in specific locations, then we want to be showing up for those. Lead conversion. How do we capture leads with our site? We don't want it to be hard to capture a lead. We want it to be easy. And we want to be able to capture someone in various stages of the marketing funnel. We want to be able to measure our ROI and our performance on our marketing. The site should be fully in your control and easy to use. Those are a couple things we hit on earlier. To me, that's a no-brainer. It's your site, it's your brand, it's your domain. You should be in full control. And if you want, you should be able to make easy changes to the site. You don't have to. You can partner with someone to make those changes. But at the very least, with today's technology, it should be easy to use. And then finally, proven, right? So we should lean on things that we know work. So if there's a really good layout for a landing page to convert leads, and it's been proven to convert at 30% across dozens of markets, let's use that one to start instead of doing a custom unique one. Do we want to be testing, see if we can get a new page that maybe converts at 35 or 40%? Yes, but we don't want to do that first. We want to start with something that's proven. Maybe there's a proven way to lay out a services page or a project spotlight page, one that guides the user through that flow and also has the ability to convert them into a lead. And so these are the things that we were thinking about as we were reimagining the process. Like we should prioritize the marketing best practices, and we'll think about design as well, but we can't miss these. So we did some testing. And so we pulled some people through this process, and we launched some sites, and we said, well, that was our guess, right? Like, hey, we think this is a better way, but maybe it's not. The first several sites, as we started launching those, their average SEO health score was coming in at 99.4. So we were really happy about that. We're saying, great, we're checking those boxes. We're getting the SEO piece right. Then we ran them through all the speed testers, and we said, okay, but are they loading quickly? Kind of going through this checklist. And they were, right? 96.2 was the average. like, hey, we think we can get it a little bit higher, but overall happy with that. So we're starting to check some of these ranking factors, you know, from a technical SEO perspective. We want to make sure we're solid there. And then we wanted to see how is this actually impacting the outcome, right? We said, hey, strategy first, we want to rethink this. And the outcome is that we want more customers, which means more leads, which means we need to grow traffic. And so this was one of the first ones that we launched. The 6-month average leading up to, we had 211 visitors per month. And then the 6 months post launch, it doubled. Leads were at 2.5, and then post launch average of 8.3 per month. So the leads tripled on average in the 6 months following. So great, we like that. That's really the big outcome we were looking for. There was another one where basically traffic just started going up and to the right post launch. So we were super thrilled with that. That was a big win. They started ranking for more keywords. They started attracting more of the right audience. Thus, they started converting a lot more leads. Each of these like little dots here are basically months. So this is a 5-month span right here, and you can see leads basically went from sub 25 to hitting 100 there within the first several months. And they started closing customers on a consistent basis from their website. So you can see that here. So if you want to build your site using the new model, right? The new model says, let's prioritize marketing best practices, make sure our design is on brand, looks good, but we need to nail the marketing best practices. This is where I'm going to walk through kind of those core components and the things so that you can integrate these into your site. So you might have a site today and you might say, great, I just want to start making these changes now. This is where you can start making those changes. You might say, hey, I also really just don't like my design and I want to put it on a better design, but I'm also going to do these marketing best practices. Both options are good. Looks like we have a question too. Laura, it looks like you raised your hand. Go ahead and drop your question in the chat, or I think we're going to also get to those at the end. So step number one is thinking about the platform. So you're building your website on a platform. We're saying here, hey, build your website on HubSpot. It doesn't have to be HubSpot. The key takeaway here is that you want to build it on a marketing first platform. So a marketing first platform would be easy to update and make changes to the site, but you also want to have tools like email marketing, SEO tools, maybe you can connect in your social media, powerful analytics. If it can connect to a CRM, even better. That's one of the reasons we like HubSpot. It's kind of an all-in-one sales and marketing tool. But again, there are other options out there. The key step is thinking about the platform that you're building on should have marketing and sales tools at your disposal. All right, step number two, we want it to be a clean, modern design. As much as I've kind of said, hey, you can have an ugly site, you know, it doesn't matter. We don't want to, right? The optimal is both. The optimal is all the marketing best practices and the site is clean, modern, it's easy to navigate. Preferences are going to be all over the board, right? Everyone's going to like something a little bit different. And so my kind of checkbox there is, does it represent our brand really well? Is it, you know, clean, kind of open? It's easy to scroll through and navigate, find the information that I want to find. And does it display, you know, our company accurately? Does it show the photos from projects that we do and that we want to do more of? After that, it gets into a lot of just preferential, I like this here versus that there. And so again, let's check the big box of on brand, easy to use, clean, and modern. Okay, this is where we're going to get into some nitty-gritty details and specifics, things that I still see to this day missed most of the time. The first thing that we want to do to make sure we're attracting the right audience is have a core service page and then individual service pages. The reason being is this is one of your biggest opportunities to attract in the right people. So again, thinking through this, I'm going to use Colorado Springs as an example. Wherever your main city is, you would essentially replace the city. So if I have remodeling services in Colorado Springs, I'm a remodeler here. My services page will be optimized from an SEO perspective. I'm going to list out a few things if you want to take notes on where the keyword should go. I'm going to optimize this page for kitchen remodeling services in Colorado Springs. Very simple, very straightforward from an SEO perspective. If that's what somebody was looking for, they're looking for kitchen remodeling services in Colorado Springs. They either type in kitchen remodeling services and they're physically located in Colorado Springs, and Google is smart enough to pick up the location and match us up, or they're not physically located there and they're typing in the word Colorado Springs, and so you're going to get matched up. And so if you do a quick Google search for page title, URL, heading, and meta description, you'll see what those are. But those are some of those core places we want to insert that keyword. So your page title sits above the URL in your browser, and that basically describes what the page is about. Then you have the URL, and then you have your heading on the page, which you can see right here, home remodeling services in upstate New York on this example. And then the meta description is a short little description on the back end. And it looks like there's a question coming in. How do we do keywords if we service a larger area that covers multiple cities? Great question. I'm going to put a pin in it because we're going to get to it here in a later step. But there's a great way to tackle that. So you have your core service page, and then you have individual service pages. So if it's home remodeling services in Colorado Springs, then you're going to have kitchen remodeling services in Colorado Springs, bathroom remodeling services in Colorado Springs, home additions in Colorado Springs. And you're going to optimize each one of those specific services you offer. So think about those services, list them out, and then look at your site and identify, one, do I even have a services page? A lot of companies don't. They have a portfolio, a gallery, an about, a process, but there isn't actually a, here are the services we provide. Then if you have an overview page, then you want to have individual pages that break down. We do kitchens, we do baths, we do whole home, we do additions. And those should each have their own dedicated page. This step sounds simple. It's very, very powerful. This is because your site, your core site is going to have the most authority, typically the most domain authority. And so you're going to be able to link back to these pages from blogs and other content. And these are going to be just core pages. You're typically never going to change the SEO. As soon as you kind of change your page title, your URL, all of this, you in essence reset a lot of SEO work that you've done to rank for those keywords. So if you ever do run into a company kind of talking about changing keywords all the time, I wouldn't recommend that. Okay, next up is project spotlight pages. So this is going to be one area to the question that was asked, Brian. This is going to be one area that you can tackle multiple cities and areas. So project spotlights, we find these to perform much, much better than just like a generic gallery, like a kitchen gallery or bathroom gallery. The reason being is you can target a very specific location and project type. Good example, I'm in Colorado Springs, but we have a really high-end area called the Broadmoor. And so home value is much higher there. Household income is much higher. And so if you were trying to target a higher end neighborhood, the Broadmoor would be a good location. So I could do a remodel there, and then I could create the project spotlight, and it could be called Modern Kitchen Remodel in the Broadmoor. And so if you think about this, almost nobody's competing for those kind of like hyper niche keywords and locations because everyone's going after the major metro. The major metro is going to be really competitive from an SEO standpoint. It might take you, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months to pull up into the rankings in the top 3. I've battled for 4 years over a really competitive keyword just to get up to number 1. So it can take a lot of time, but typically a really narrow neighborhood or area, you're going to be number 1 just like that, or pretty quickly, right? Or you're going to be top 3 for sure. And so you can target that. And then you can do another project there, and that can be a bathroom, an addition. If it's a kitchen, you could describe it with a different adjective. Hey, this one was modern, and this one was a different style. And so you can continue to basically dominate those specific areas. So if you are trying to target different cities, different neighborhoods, project spotlights are a great way to do that. And you can use these to tell the story. Hey, this family came to us. This was the challenge they were having. Here's how we approached the design to it. Here's, how we executed the build. Here was a rough project estimate in terms of price. You could just give a range. And then you have the photos, right? And the finished photos. So that way, as a user, again, thinking back to the history of web design, they're on the site. They're like, wow, this is a kitchen in the Broadmoor. I live in the Broadmoor. I'm trying to do my kitchen. I'm reading about this. Wow, that's a really thoughtful approach. These photos look amazing. You're going to get a lot less volume because you're in a very narrow neighborhood, but the targeting of that is so strong. So even if 10 people visit that page every single month, the relevancy to them and the probability that those people are ideal prospects and clients is much, much higher. So these are really powerful opportunities from an SEO perspective, but also from a trust building and a brand perspective. And then this is the other area where if you're saying, hey, I work across multiple service areas, cities, towns, typically you want to go big to small. So you're going to anchor, your SEO strategy on your core website and your core pages with your biggest metro area. But then this is what's called a service area module. And so think you're on a page and you're scrolling down and there's just like a little section. Sometimes it's a, photo section or it's a team section. This would be a where we work section. This is going to go on your service page, all your individual service pages. It's going to go on your home page. It's going to go on your team page, on your process page. It's just a module and it's probably near the bottom of your page because all those other pages have other information you're explaining. Google is going to be able to pick up on all of these locations as well. And I'm seeing there's a couple of questions about project spotlights. So portfolio of spotlight pages different than general portfolio of projects. So I'm not sure how you're talking about a general portfolio of projects. I'm assuming that's like, here's like a gallery of kitchens, and then you might just click into one of those, and then it'd be like 15 pictures of a kitchen. Generally, the way those are formatted is you might click on it and it like pulls into like a little light box, and you're just kind of tabbing through, and it's just pictures. The key difference is a project spotlight page is a dedicated page on a website. It has its own URL, and then it has pictures and story and kind of the background on like what went into that project. So you could almost call it a project story if you wanted to, if that's an easier way to think about it. But it has its own dedicated page, and that way you can optimize it for a keyword and a location. We have Project Spotlight blogs within our blog. Is that relatively easy? Yeah, April, those are essentially the same thing. I think it's going to be a little bit harder for you to organize it. So it's nice for somebody to be able to, as they're on your main navigation, click on Project Spotlights, and then it just displays like, hey, here are these 12 project spotlights, and it just has the title and you can click into them. You could probably still navigate that depending on your website setup. You could just create the overview page, and then you'd essentially just be linking to those blog posts that you've already created. That would probably be your fastest path to success. All right, thoughts on, oh, James, good question. Thoughts on individual city pages in addition to having them listed on each page. That model, I would say, is not a great model to follow where you have like, say you serve 5 cities and you're like kitchen remodeling in city A, and then you have another page called kitchen remodeling in city B, in city C, and so on. Google will typically be able to find that as like duplicate content. And if you think about it from a user perspective, which is also how Google thinks, it's not very helpful to a user if they're like clicking on all these city pages and they basically say the same thing. I would definitely opt for like the service area module and then project spotlights, and you'll be able to target all the cities and areas that you want to that way. Okay, step 6, you want to make sure that you have a top of funnel conversion offering. Some background info. 4% of the market are what we call active buyers. That means they're coming to your site, They're trying to find a company. They want to move forward probably within about 30 days, right? They're actively looking to do a remodel. They want to solve their problem. They want to find a company and hire. That means 96% are just on your website browsing. They're future buyers. Some of them are non-buyers, right? But they're future buyers, which means if they come to our site and all they can do is call us or hit the contact us form or maybe schedule a consultation, they actually don't want any of those options because those options are talking to a salesperson or somebody about their project. They're just researching. So you need to have a way to capture that person so that 12 months later, when they actually are a 4% active buyer, you've captured them and you've been able to stay in touch with them for those 12 months. And now you're in the running. Most of the time, what happens is people hit your site now, they click around, they're like, cool. And then they leave because there's nothing for them to do. They don't want to hit the contact us. They don't want to call you. And so they leave. It's going to be really hard to get that person back 6 months later, 9 months later, even 3 months later. Like we just have to hope that they remember to come back to our site. Most of the time, they do a bunch of research. Then 3 months later, they're like, yep, we're ready to do that kitchen remodel. And then whoever they find that time around gets the opportunity. And so we want to ensure that we get it. We've tested lots and lots of different conversion offers. I'm just going to give you our best converting one. It's cost. People want to know what it's going to cost, and you can tell them what it's going to cost in ranges, right? You don't have to say your kitchen is going to cost $75,426 because that's not the truth. We all know that's not how it works, but we can say, hey, our typical kitchens go from 60,000 to 150,000. Here's why you might be on the low end. Here's why you might be on the high end. And then when somebody gets there, if their budget was $10,000, great. Hopefully they won't contact us. But if they are on the site and they say, great, we kind of had 100 grand blocked off for this, now we can continue to stay in touch with this person and move them into the sales process. And then finally, blogging. This is another way where you can pick up certain cities, towns, and neighborhoods, but it's also a catch-all for ranking for anything else that's not on your core site. So things like design trends, other process-related questions, FAQs that you get in the sales process, and then blogs are a way to just like attract people that are, hey, what are current design trends? They're asking how long does it take? How much does it cost? They have all these questions. We pull them in and then we can convert them on something like a cost guide, which will get inserted into the blog. And we also link back to those core service pages and our project spotlight pages. And that's how those pages start to get more powerful and rank better. So blogging is a super powerful way to both attract your ideal audience and then convert them, but also increase the strength of your other pages that you really want to rank as well. And so if we think about how we want to go about this new model, we're going to just recap these 7, and then I got a next step for you. Build it on a marketing first platform. Make sure the design is clean and modern. Really focus on those core service pages, an overview page and individual service pages. Maximize the value in those project spotlight pages. Make sure you have that service area module across your site. Don't forget that top of funnel conversion. Again, if you just want the best performing one that we know of to date, it's the cost guide. People want to know what it costs. And then don't ignore blogging. And especially it's great if you don't want to commit to video yet and create regular video content. You can still get tons of SEO value out of the written form in terms of a blogging strategy. These are all things that you can work on with your existing site. You can work on improving the core service pages. You can add project spotlights. You can add a service area module. You can add top of funnel conversion. You can move it to a marketing first platform. So these are all steps that you can take right now. We went a few minutes longer. I'll stay on for as many questions as you guys want, depending on Jennifer's timing. And then if you do want to chat with our team about how we can help you either fix your site or improve your site, get you more leads, just scan that QR code there and that'll take you right to a meeting link and you can book some time with our team. But with that, yeah, I'm happy to tackle questions, Jennifer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Spencer. This is great content. And I'm sure everybody's feeling just like, hopefully you're not feeling overwhelmed. Hopefully you feel like there's some really good actionable items you can take away from this. Another thing that I just want to mention, as a builder funnel customer, you can get 5% discount on Build Exact. And once you get them to your website and you get them as a customer, you have to do the estimates and the takeoffs and manage the project. So please give us a call and let us know, or drop information here where we can connect and get you set up with a demo or a trial on Build Exact. And we're here to learn from Spencer. So you guys grab him while you can. He's offered to answer additional questions. So any other questions from the audience
Yeah, I was just looking, I think,
at the Q&A?
yeah, well, there's Q&A and then the chat, and I know there are a bunch in there. So I don't know if
Yep.
you want to just start pulling them out, and I'm happy to rapid fire through those.
If someone already has individual location pages, do you suggest those are removed from the site, or will this hurt rankings?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the right answer is tread a little bit cautiously. You'd want to look at how it is currently set up. The quick answer, without having like looked at your site and everything, is if you do have like 5 cities for the same service, like kitchen remodeling in Denver, kitchen remodeling in, whatever it is, and you just have duplicate pages, most of the time you want to redirect all of the lesser metro areas and redirect those URLs to the main one that you have, kind of the main service page. And then you'll want to add that service area module to the main one that does include all of those locations. Again, you would want to see, do any of those little pages, have any ranking right now? Are they getting any traffic right now? There are some considerations, so I wouldn't just blanket do that. Happy to like look at your site and we can do a quick scan and see if we have some quick advice for you there too. And I would say just snag a call here, and happy to take a look at that specific situation. But generally, those pages probably aren't ranking, and you could just redirect them. You definitely don't want to just delete them without redirecting those URLs. That'll make sure you retain that equity.
Great. So there are a couple of questions that we'll just tie together. So does Builder Funnel manage the programs for contractors now, or just lay out the framework? And then what is the typical cost of doing that, optimizing a site and providing services?
Yeah, good question. So we do both like marketing strategy plans as well as build sites. So this new model, we actually call it the foundation. And so we'll put you on basically all of the best of that we've learned for proven layouts and SEO and lead conversion. We'll build it all for you. And then you can either run it after that and say, great, I'm good to go. I would say 60–70% of the time people just say, great, I want you to lay out the strategy or build us the site, and then I just want you to manage our ongoing marketing. And so we would be doing SEO, email, running your paid ads, doing your social media. Clients spend anywhere from like 15 grand a year to north of $100,000 a year. Just depends on how much we're doing, how much you're doing, what the goals are. So yeah, if you feel like we could help, I'd say snag a call. We'll talk through it and we can make a recommendation there. But we do try to give you the power if you want to do it, but also we're happy to take that on if you're just saying, hey, I want to be a part of it, but I don't actually want to do any of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Spencer, for all of these great insights, expert tips. And as you guys saw, spal at builderfunnel.com, and he also put in the link to book it. Oh, that is a meeting link, right?
Yep, that's just a meeting link. It'll get connected with Patrick on our team.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you,
Cool.
everybody. And thanks again, Spencer, and have a great day.
Cool. Thank you, guys.